right, we believe we have a quorum, so we'll begin. Statement at the top of the meeting. The Commission on Equitable Housing and Development meeting has now commenced. It is February the 3rd at 4:01 p.m. in the afternoon. This meeting is being held virtually due to COVID-19 to allow for social distancing and protect the public health. As we continue our efforts in meeting remotely, we ask all commissioners and guests to mute yourselves until called upon to speak to avoid feedback and background noise. For those who have dialed in using the call-in number, to unmute to speak, dial *6 on your phone. Also, prior to speaking, please announce who you are to identify yourself. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded. We ask that you only use the chat function to request to speak or announce that you are leaving the meeting so that we can track quorum. Also, in order to comply with the state open meeting law, attendance and votes will be done by way of roll call using audio, not using the chat function. And who's going to do the roll call? Who officially does the roll call? Is that Ann, or is it now you, Ernesto? Or
I think it's you.
it is me. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not used to Jim actually doing the count, so let me. I will punt here. Hold on just a moment. Okay. I am present, and Olga Flores. Olga Flores. All right, Sharia Jimenez.
Oops. Here. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, I can see you now. Okay, Sharia. Jim Toffel is not here. Liz Wilson.
Here.
Jay Young.
I'm here.
Mindy Bernstein.
Here.
Lori Marzabo.
Here.
Lori Marzurbo, I believe. I apologize. Thank you. Evangelina Paz. Evangelina Paz. And to continue, Maggie Amado Tellez, Tellez.
That's good. I'm present, and Olga is here, but she didn't say present.
Oh, I see Olga. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but
Guys, my
You're-
keyboard was muted. Sorry.
All right, let me just, I got you. Okay. Wendy Asher. Wendy Asher. Mary Ann Bierling. Mary Ann. W. Mark Clark.
Present.
Vicky Cusino. Vicky. Marcos Ismael. Marcos.
Present. Hello.
Betty Villegas.
here.
Corin Manning.
Here. Present.
Liz Morales.
I'm here. Hello.
All right, by my counts, we have a quorum. All right, if everyone agrees, then we will move on to the next item. By the way, I probably should have done this at the top. Michael Edmonds, Vice Chairman. Review and adoption of the January 6th meeting minutes. Does anyone have any comments about the past meeting minutes for the past meeting? Does anyone oppose to adopting the past meeting minutes? Then I will accept that as the meeting minutes are accepted and adopted, and we'll move on to item number 3 on the agenda, call to the audience. This is the time when any member of the public may address the Commission on Equitable Housing and Development. Due to time constraints, the total time allotted for this is 15 minutes. Individuals are allowed 3 minutes each. Due to open meeting law, commission members cannot discuss topics that are not on the agenda. Items brought up by the public may be considered as an agenda item for a future meeting. Do we have any members of the public already listed to speak? Do we have any members of the public who are interested in speaking? It seems that the call to the audience, we don't have anyone, so we'll move on to item 4. City of Tucson Home Down Payment Assistance Information. Leticia Carpio from HCD will give an informational presentation. Leticia, did I pronounce your name correctly?
You did. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for letting me present today. I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully, everyone can see. Can everybody see the down payment assistant fact sheet?
No.
No. Okay, let me try one more time here. How about now? Yeah? Okay. So thank you. New to Zoom and sharing. So this is our fact sheet and is for down payment assistance program. As we all know, if someone's interested in buying a home and getting assistance, we would provide this fact sheet to them. But what I'm going to do is break it down into 5 quick steps of when a person is wanting to apply for down payment assistance. So I'm going to go through the steps real quick and really quickly. Step 1 is basically contacting one of our certified housing counselors, which we have listed here. I hope you can see them. Was there, and then they will contact them and they will take the HUD certified home buyer counseling class. They need to take that just to start the ball rolling. Once that is completed, step 2 is going through their income. The agency will work with them, go through the underwriting process of reviewing income documentations to see if they qualify. Once that is done, that process is done, they can move into step 3. Step 3 is that, hey, you're eligible, please go and get with a realtor, get with a lending bank, and work with them to try to find a home and do all that. Then once they have that information, they'll go into step 4. Step 4 is where they actually start developing, there's a contract that they'll have about purchasing the home, and they will be working with the agency, the lender, title company, and our fiscal agent that helps us run this down payment assistance program. So there's a lot going in there. And then step 5 is that we will follow up. The fiscal agent will follow up with them after they, in 6 months and then in a year. And just to make sure that everything's okay, they don't have any concerns after they have purchased their home. So I know I went pretty fast, but I'm just trying to get, these are basic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. And some things that they need to consider are these bullet points. System may be up to 10% of contract sale price or 20% if they're layered with down payment assistance resource. Home buyers must contribute a minimum of $1,000, 5% of assistance, or $2,000. I think right now we're even helping at 10% assistance. The sale price might not exceed HUD's homeowner value limits of $198,000 for existing home purchases and $240,000 for new home purchases. Certified home inspection. This is something that the individual is going to have to pay out of pocket. There will be an environmental clearance that will need to be done on the home. Down payment said there will be a loan depending on how much they are asking for. There will be a down payment assistant loan. That's all part of the closing process. Home buyers must meet established HUD area medium income. There's some limits, no more than 80%. Home buyers must agree to occupy property as a principal resident during affordability period. And that will depend on, again, how much they are asking for as down payment assistant. It could be 5 to 10 years. And again, I mentioned this is the first thing they have to do. Homeowners must comply to HUD certified home buyer counseling at one of the participating agencies. Then of course arms are not allowed. So homebuyer must qualify for a mortgage loan that meets established program standards. And again, an arm are not permitted. Mortgage terms must be viewed and approved by the housing counselor. So again, this is all, they'll be working with the housing counselor agency. Home buyers may not have cash assets exceeding $10,000. And then home buyers must have equivalent of 1 month mortgage payment and reserves on deposits in the bank. And also they have to go through a debt to income ratio. And that's all doing step 2, as I mentioned before. Currently we have these certified housing counselors listed, but we did just close an RFP proposal just recently, and we might be adding some more providers to this list. And this is right now the 2021 home program income limits, and they do change. Normally they come in, these change in April, but we got these in June, so we're expecting them to update again in June of this coming year. So that is home down payment assistance program, City of Tucson and Pima County in a nutshell. And I know Marcos is on the meeting today. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Marcos, to this, but that's in a nutshell.
All right. Any questions from anyone on the commission? Any comments? Oh, pardon me. Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So I'm looking at this bullet list. Thank you so much for the presentation. And I am wondering how much success are people in this program having when it comes to locating a home, in this case, under $200,000 or under $250,000 that passes an HQS inspection?
I think fairly they've been coming in pretty straightforward. Marcos, would you be able to add to some of that on your side of if you're seeing anything different? Because we have been seeing them come in.
Yes, I mean, it's been challenging. There are still home buyers who get qualified and they're able to find a home. But I know it's taking a lot longer, and for home buyers to be able to find a home in their range. Unfortunately, I know some are not able to. So, we know that the agencies and home buyers, realtors are all struggling to locate affordable properties in this market. We did make some changes to the program a little over a year ago. We increased the subsidy amounts that are available to help make more down payment assistance available to home buyers, which helps reduce the amount of their mortgage and makes the purchase more affordable. Even with that, it's been challenging, but there are still home buyers that are finding homes and taking advantage of the assistance.
Thank you.
All right. And Mindy?
Thank you. My question is along the lines of Liz's. That $243,000 to buy a home in this market is really low, and wondering if the City of Tucson would be able to reevaluate that dollar amount and bring it higher so that people can actually buy a house. And I'm just curious, how many people do you have finding homes for 243?
None in our program are getting homes that much, with maybe one exception, which would be home buyers that are working with Habitat for Humanity. And Habitat for Humanity is having issues with home appraisals right now. Of course, with the market, appraisals are coming in high, and we do have a request into HUD to increase the maximum purchase price. And we're mainly looking at the home buyers working with Habitat, because there's really no way to have a home buyer that's low income according to home standards afford a new home, unless they're working with an organization like Habitat or one of our other nonprofits. So in that circumstance, it helps to have that higher level because Habitat provides a number of benefits, including zero interest mortgage and down payment assistance from other sources, as well as the city and county program. So it's taking layers of down payment assistance But home buyers are still, and that's, I think, what it's taking in this market. If there wasn't another program available besides the counties that could help provide down payment assistance, I think it's very, very difficult for home buyers to qualify and find a home right now. And, you know, we know that HUD's limits are lagging behind the market. And that's why we have a request in to get the limits increased. And not that we want to put people in homes they can't afford. We, of course, make sure that the transaction is underwritten, the purchase is underwritten so that there's enough down payment assistance to make the mortgage affordable. I hope
All
that.
right. Next, Olga.
Hi, I am so glad I get to speak right now because this is probably the biggest reason, not the only, but the biggest reason why I got on this commission. I left the mortgage industry in April, May, because of this exact reason. Liz, thank you for asking that question because no, nobody can find a house. The number one reason was, and the biggest when there was more inventory, was they were getting overbid and outbid by investors, cash buyers. A lot of research I did, investors were coming from other states and having $2 million in pocket and saying, given to their people and say, don't come back without 10 homes. Some things of that nature. So no, we need to do something about this. And I feel that there are a lot more housing counselors available and agencies, but more importantly, I feel the city needs to come up with something that makes these prices higher, but utilize the programs that we do have available. First and foremost, I think, is the land trust. That's probably one of the biggest ways that we can have housing affordability. And so I am grateful that this came up at this time because I am now a HUD certified housing counselor. And I have a lot of clients that I've sent to the bank already, getting ready, doing some like credit counseling, and there's nothing out there right now. And so something does need to be done. So thank you for your time.
Maggie.
Hi, thank you. So the land trust did, and these last two new constructions that we just completed, we were able to use these funds through Primavera. And you know, we followed all of the instructions. So the last home, brand new home, did appraise for $243,000. So had it appraised for more, we would have been in trouble. And so I'm hoping whatever, I know, Marcos, you were mentioning something about some kind of exceptions that would also apply for the Pima County Community Land Trust and any of our properties that we may develop because they have a lot of, there is quite a bit of subsidy to bring it down. And our mortgage is quite affordable, but our mandate, as you know, is that we must sell it for the leasehold appraised value, which, as I told you, just came in at 243. So that doesn't even include the land. And it's a very affordable product, but they, you know, had that come in just $1 more and they would not have been eligible. So that's a concern to me. Thank you.
Just to respond to Maggie, answer your question, Maggie, yes, the process we're going through to amend the maximum purchase price is going to apply, you know, across the board to all of our programs, and we're doing it both for existing and new home construction. But looking back at recent transactions approved, it looks like, you know, this year so far, and even at the end of last year, the only ones I'm aware of that got approved were home buyers working with Pima County Community Land Trust and Habitat for Humanity. So I think that just, you know, kind of confirms what Olga was saying and the challenges that home buyers face.
Sharia, I believe, is next.
Yeah, I was curious about the numbers, Marcos, of like how many families have been able to participate in this program if we have that data. And then, yeah, and hearing this conversation, it seems like very much like the parameters somehow maybe need to be adjusted. I'm also thinking about that HSQ that was mentioned by Liz Wilson. I wonder this with older housing stock, because part of the problem too is that, the NOAHs, the naturally occurring, affordable homes that are, just our older housing stock that are in need of repair. Is there some way this program could be combined? I know HUD has, like they have a renovation mortgage product as well that could be layered in some way to meet, that maybe if the house isn't up to standard in terms of quality now, but if we did a reno on it, a cheaper home, I don't know. If there's some way to adjust these parameters or combine programs in a way that makes this more accessible, because I feel like if you're a homeowner looking in this price range, you're either going to buy a fixer upper that's not going to meet the quality standard, or you're going to be or the brand new home is like just out of reach, so it's a very this is the target. I feel like everyone is looking for homes in this price range right now, so it's just a tough market to be in.
All right. Are there any other questions for Leticia? Leticia, I do have one or two maybe. The document that we're looking at is dated February the 1st, 2020. Is this accessible to the public?
Yes, it should be. And if not, we're going to make sure that it's accessible. But we can definitely put it on the chat website, and also I'll work with my team here to make sure that it's on HCD website for sure. And it will be getting updated pretty short, soon. So, but yes.
Well, that was going to be my next question or comment, because I'm looking at a copy of a document that says July 1st, 2021, and it seems to have a similar title as yours, Pima County, City of Tucson, 2021-2022 Down Payment Assistance Program Fact Sheet.
Yeah, and it could be something that we just need to update. I know we were overhauling our website, so that could just be, something that we need to look at. But definitely, we do got to give you the most current one. This is it. And maybe in a few months or so, it will change.
So the one you're showing us is the most current one. The one I'm looking at is not, even though I have a later date.
I'd have to see, you pulled that one from our HCD website or just
Pima.gov.
Oh,
And that's Pima County's though. There's two, we do have two fact sheets. Pima County has theirs and we also have ours. So
Okay.
does there, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I just assume it's the same because I see the city's logo and Pima County's logo on your sheet, and
Yes.
the same on this sheet I'm looking at with the latest date.
Yeah,
So
Marcos, Pima County has theirs, and we just mimic the same. We're pretty much the same. They just have a different standard format, and then we have ours. So if that's what you're saying, there are two. If you go to Pima County's website, they're going to have their fact sheet. If you go to the city website, you're going to have this fact sheet. And it's basically, they pretty much marry each other most of the time. There's maybe some little here and there, but his style is different and our style is a little bit different.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't want,
Sorry for the
I'm not looking for a
confusion.
long answer. I just don't, this is, to me, it's a little confusing that there's two different fact sheets, two different dates, maybe two different styles. Is there a reason there's not one style if the county and the city are doing this together?
Good question. We can try to work on that, me and Marcos.
Okay.
We-
I'm sorry, go ahead, Marcos.
well, we did work with staff at the city when this was updated, and I'm guessing that, so we did coordinate the update with city staff, and I think it could be that the city just didn't change the date on the copy, that Leticia has. But we did have one posted on our website, and I know that a recent version that you're seeing, that you're referring to, Michael, was distributed as well to to all the participating agencies that are on
Okay.
it, so that they have it to provide for their clients.
Okay. Anyone else from the commission with a question? Anyone? Then I thank you both, and we'll move on to item 5, commission goal status review. This is, I'm showing Jim and Jay with a question mark leading this discussion. Jim is not here. Jay, are you willing to dive into this for us?
Yeah, why not?
All right, sir, the floor is yours.
All right. So, I think what we're wanting to do here is take a look at where we are now that we are about a year into our work as a commission. We have our mission, we have our subcommittees and subcommittee goals. And I'll be honest, I was not prepared to lead this conversation, so I'm going to kind of do the best I can here. But, I have been thinking personally and have heard from some other commission members, now that we're a year out, what have we done? What do we want to be doing? Do these goals still seem relevant to us? Do we want to pivot? And I'll just throw out there personally, I'm really would like to see us be a little bit more action oriented. I think we've gotten a lot of information, which is fine, but that doesn't feel like action to me, considering how dire the problem of affordable and equitable housing is. So that's just me personally. I've heard that from a couple of other people as well. So I think the idea here is to open up the floor, discuss our mission and our goals, and to see where we want to go from here. So with that, Anne, I don't know if you or Mike or anyone else has anything to add to kind of frame the discussion, and to also maybe give us a little clearer idea of what we want to accomplish with this agenda item.
Anne, would you like to weigh in here?
Thanks, Mike and Jay. I think you outlined it perfect, and I'm happy to share my screen at any point if people do want to look at the mission and the goals. But I think that at this point, a year in, it's really up to the commission to sort of set those actions you'd like to see, and we can be here to support you, and we wholeheartedly feel free to think about, with the goals you identified, how do you achieve those goals?
And is the our mission and goals, etc., is that sheet available online somewhere that we can all kind of surf over to real quick, or can you put it in the chat for us? I think that would be helpful.
I'll put it in the chat, and then also please know I can share my screen at any point.
Do y'all want Anne to share her screen? I'm kind of enjoying seeing everybody on the screen, but if y'all want to share this and to share her screen, that's cool too.
I think because
what says
we're
the group?
open to the public and there are members of the public, it would be useful.
To share,
Yes,
share her
yes, it
screen?
would be helpful to see the screen. Thank you.
Okay. Mike, from here, do you want me to turn it over to you to, call on folks, or do you just want me to keep plowing ahead?
I see that Sharia has her hand up. Sharia, do you want to speak now? Do you want to wait until Jay does a little bit more?
I don't have a whole lot more to do at this point, so.
I just wanted to completely agree, and thank you so much, Jay, for bringing this up over email. And I also have been feeling the same. I think we all feel the pressure and know that it's not getting better, and just also want to feel, I just also would like to see our meetings move to more action oriented. I think, a lot of times we're getting and hearing about policy after it's already been put in place. And really, I think what we could be doing that would be maybe more helpful would be to be working on those items that no one else is working on, and making sure that we're, really focusing our efforts in new areas and new, ideas that, haven't already gone through mayor and council, and be the ones to really be bringing issues to mayor and council, as new items.
Okay, yeah, I'm trying to look at what Ann is sharing versus some personal notes, let's say, I've made in regards to our mission and goals. I think I see some other hands up here. Let me see. Oh, Liz, go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, thank you, Jay, for facilitating this conversation. And Shay, I agree with both of you. I want to ask, what does action look like to us? Because I think it looks different for everyone. And it also will look different, I think, for all of our subcommittees. So I'd like to know, like, what kind of outcomes are we hoping for qualitatively in order to like start having this conversation more?
Jay?
Yes.
Just calling on you because I'm looking at Ann's document, and I hope everyone else is able to get to that.
Yeah.
The mission, subcommittee goals, etc.
Well, I'll just jump in here as well with my own personal comments. I mean, I think I'm kind of going to echo everything that folks are saying, but I really appreciate the information and presentations. I mean, obviously the information is great, and I appreciate staff and others taking the time, but I feel like a lot of this stuff for me is, if we're going to take more action, and that remains to be seen what it is, I feel like a lot of that could be done before we get to the meetings. I mean, at least I personally can review a lot of this stuff and kind of get the big takeaways from them. I also really think that, we need to think about what our capacity is as a commission and what we can realistically accomplish. There's a lot of, intellectual horsepower on this commission. And, if this was our full-time job and we were, all able to get together and tackle some of these issues, I'm sure we would be able to, get pretty far down the road, but that's not the reality. So, I'm Liz, I think your question is right on. What does action look like? And, also, what is our role, considering that, there is professional staff, obviously, that's already on this call, that's working on this stuff, and it is going to move a lot of this stuff forward. So, I guess Liz, I think you're right on target. I mean, what does it mean for us to act? I mean, if we're just going to continue to hear information and, give some, details and suggestions around the edges of policy, we can do that. If we're going to continue to just make recommendations to mayor and council about, some things here and there, that's fine. But let's be honest, if that's what it's going to be, and I guess, I feel like the action that we need to take is probably going to take a lot more time for us as commissioners. So, again, back to the capacity of what we can actually do, with such a complex issue. So anyway, those are kind of my thoughts at this point. I think I probably have repeated myself a couple times at this point, so I'll stop.
Liz?
Yeah, sorry, I don't want to dominate too much time, but I did want to just say that, when reading the ordinance that puts the commission into effect, our role is to advise mayor and council. And like Jay has said, we've spent a lot of time all getting on the same page in terms of our knowledge base. And so I think that we just need to make some decisions about what we're going to go in depth with in regards to advising mayor and council. We did that previously with the ADUs. I think that maybe the next thing that we decide to advise them on could be done a little bit more intensely and collaboratively. But that's not to say that we weren't collaborating in the ADUs. It's just to say that maybe it shouldn't all fall on one person. So that's kind of my suggestion.
And Liz Morales.
Hello, everyone. I'll try to give a little bit of my thoughts on this. Again, this is just my personal take, and definitely defer to the actual voting members about how to take direction. But it can feel that, over the year, to assess kind of where what has happened, what has been accomplished. I will say that it definitely can, looking back, one can question, okay, how much should we do? I will say the first 6 months really was around group kind of forming and storming and getting kind of comfortable with speaking and sharing thoughts and ideas. I think these last 6 months were very effective with creating the subcommittees and really rallying around some really hard topics. I think what we can do as city staff is try to find some good, some topics and things that can be more action oriented for the commission to discuss and find ways where we come together. I also encourage, I love how Vicky, as an example, will bring issues that are happening around the disability community and how can we, rally together. So, I do think it's a balance. I do think the commission, in order to stay kind of informed, presentations are necessary, but I'm with Jay. It's more about balance and not being overrun with presentations, but really asking the commission to be thoughtful and providing input. And I love how Liz, the advisory piece, what do you want mayor and council to care about? What do you want them to think about? And so I just want to encourage all of you that if you've ever felt like maybe you're not being as effective as possible, I would say this is I'm hoping you're in this for, the journey, and in some places we can make quick wins and come together in unison, and other things we might be split on and figuring out how do we address certain issues. So that's just my 2 cents as far as let's try to have a balance of having some real actionable items. The subcommittees, especially around, I've heard a lot around the Affordable Housing Committee, that there's been so many good, hearty discussions. What can come out of those committees to come back to the group? But I just, again, here to say thank you, because you all have put a lot of time, a lot of thought, a lot of great concerns to this group, and so I don't think it's for nothing. I think it's really helped me do my job better, and so those are some of my thoughts.
Thank you, Liz. And so now here are some of my thoughts, which actually mimic a lot of what has been said. So the commission, per the mission, commission will review, investigate, and recommend actions, and we have subcommittees, which I believe can review, investigate, and recommend actions. So I believe, my feeling is that's where we are now. Our subcommittees now submitting through the commission to mayor and council what we want to happen, what should happen, etc. We may not have all the specific details coming out of the subcommittees, but that seems to me to be the next thing we can do. How do other members of the commission feel about that? And as I throw that question out, I will recognize Sharia.
Yeah, I was just reminded as we were going through the goals. Thank you, Anne, for putting that up. Yeah, for me, I feel like I could be more, at least for our affordable housing subcommittee, we could be maybe a little more focused and effective. And for us, there's some quantitative data, things that we could be tracking. The HAS plan was, and even the P-CHIP, I don't know that there was ever numbers, that unit count, that housing unit count. I don't know that was ever, goals were ever made in any of those plans for like an exact unit count. We want to create this many light tech units. We want to, but I think that, and I know that those goals are somewhat hard to achieve, but by looking at past data, we should have a sense of how many affordable housing units we're producing every year, and how, and again, and then strategize about how to increase that, or we at least have a baseline, right, that we could be comparing when looking at unit counts. So I think that there's more work to be done in the subcommittees, and definitely feel spurred to to dive more into those details.
Thank you, Sharia. Anyone else? Oh, Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I got a couple more comments. I really like the bringing it back to the subcommittees, Mike. I think that makes a lot of sense. I know that in our segregation subcommittee, we did have a very robust conversation, and I think landed on some ideas about how to be more action oriented in our subcommittee and how to move that up the chain to the full commission. So I like that idea. Maybe one of the things also that we can do going forward is keep track of our accomplishments, because clearly Liz's perspective, Liz Morales' perspective on the effectiveness of the commission is important, and I think it's good to hear that, and maybe we can kind of keep track of what we have actually done, just to remember that we are being effective. So that's just kind of a small idea. The other thing I think that I would really like for us to dive into a little bit more substantively are the barriers to affordable housing. I know we've talked a lot about them, but I wonder if there is more that we could do as a commission. I mean, maybe it's the Affordable Housing Subcommittee, I don't know. But I know there's been talk about zoning, there's talk about parking issues, which I know is part of zoning, and NIMBYism, for instance. Like, what are some of the real barriers to affordable housing? Funding, coming up with a trust fund or some sort of bond package to come up with more money. So I'm just wondering if there's a way that we could dive more into the barriers that Tucson really has to affordable housing. And then finally, I would really love, if nothing else, at the end of the discussion, this agenda item, we do really decide what we want to do based on what we're talking about. What does action look like? And then once we decide that, how do we get there if there's something else that we need to do? I would really love to nail that down, at least a little more concrete, or if we need to talk about it again, to have some sort of marker that we come back to, so that we don't have the conversation and just it falls away, and we come back next meeting and never really answered the question in a way that kind of stays with us going forward. So if we can, I don't know what that looks like, but get something kind of nailed down to make sure that we don't lose this conversation.
Liz Wilson?
Just kind of coming off of what Jay said, I'd like to suggest that maybe we have some sort of poll after this meeting to nail down what topics we would like to work on as a full commission going forward. And I think that it would be useful for us to decide on 3 or 4 and spend, a quarter working on those, so that it's not just like one meeting on one topic, another meeting on another topic, because if we're not taking the appropriate time, we can't do anything with the information that we're given.
I like the idea. Anyone? Oh, all right. There is a motion on the floor, but I would like to recognize, I think, Mindy first. Mindy? Or did you put your hand up by accident?
No, I was clapping for Liz.
Oh, it looks like, sorry, it looks like all right. So Liz, if you would again restate your motion for me, please.
Yeah, I'll move to have a poll for commission members to submit no less than 3 topics for discussion for prioritization of future commission meetings and action items.
Thank you. Is there a second? Mindy, now I see your hand up, Mindy.
Yep, I second the motion that
Okay.
Liz
Are there any opposed to the motion? Then I will say the motion has passed. And I think, Ann, were you taking notes? Did you write that down? I think I saw you writing it down.
Yeah, we will have the minutes, so it's being recorded.
Okay, thank you. All right, everyone. If that's good, then I'd like to move on to item 6, subcommittee updates. Let's start with the Housing Segregation Subcommittee. Jay.
Hi, everybody. We had an excellent meeting. When was it? A week or two ago. So where shall I start? I have our agenda up. Let's see. Wanted to look at that real quick, just to refresh my memory. So we also spent quite a bit of time talking about our purpose and our goals as a subcommittee, and that bled over quite a bit into the commission's larger goals. And I think where we landed was really not losing the equity piece in the Commission for Equitable Housing and Development. We've talked a lot about affordable housing, which clearly deserves the attention it's getting, but also, affordable housing is not necessarily equitable housing. And so we got together a resource list looking at a number of different areas of housing and equity related issues to housing. And we talked about the fact that lending discrimination is still very prevalent. We talked about appraisal bias in the community. We talked about steering, which is real estate agents steering people to particular parts of town based on race, ethnicity, and other protected characteristics. We talked about Section 8, where families are able to use housing choice vouchers, which is generally not in higher income, high opportunity areas of town. And then we also talked about the history of housing segregation, and that's been an ongoing conversation. And so we agreed to really dig into some of these materials to all kind of get on the same page about these different equity issues. And I think that, for us, really discussing housing segregation and bringing that to the fore and not forgetting how important that is to equity is something that we really want to do going forward for the entire commission, because the policies and laws and whatnot that created our segregated housing patterns are still evident today, and a lot of the things that created them in the first place really haven't changed a lot. And I think we feel that if those things are not also addressed in addition to creating more affordable housing, we're really missing a piece of the puzzle to make our community and housing, generally speaking, more equitable. So we really dug into that, and we also discussed the source of income protection again. And I think what came up for us is that one, we were quite frankly disturbed by a lot of the things that were said by folks in quote unquote the industry, the way that folks were described who are using housing choice vouchers. I don't know, we just felt like it was a lot of misinformation and a lot of unfortunate discussion about particularly people using housing choice vouchers and other government assistance for housing. And I think generally speaking, we were all in agreement that source of income protection is clearly an equity issue and clearly something that needs to be protected, though we didn't have a motion to bring anything to the commission as a whole. We also talked about the affordable housing checklist and prioritization tool. We all took part in a discussion with HCD staff about the tool and the different things that are prioritized in the tool. So we discussed that a little bit. That was more something we did prior to our meeting. And then Joe Aldino, who's here at the meeting today, talked to us about exclusionary zoning and the importance of exclusionary zoning in limiting affordable housing, and bringing that up as something that should be brought to the attention of the entire commission, and I think is also an equity issue as well. So it was a very timely discussion. And I think, again, just to wrap this up, we very much felt like how can we take more action? How can we do more to really dig into affordable housing, make sure that we're creating more affordable housing and reducing the barriers. So I think that was really kind of what we chewed on. And with that, I'd like to ask Mike and Lori if I missed anything, if you guys have anything to add to my summary of our subcommittee meeting.
Lori?
I think Jay gave a really good summary. I would just add that I know Jay said at the beginning of the meeting, but we did talk about that action piece and I guess wanting a little bit more action. And I do appreciate Liz Morales's perspective. And I will definitely, as a commission member and subcommittee member, keep that in mind. But I would like to see a balance of both of those things. And we did talk about that in the meeting.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add additionally. Jay pretty much summed it up for me. Especially a part that was, yeah, let's use the word appalling. We'll leave it at that. That was shocking. So, all right, thank you, Jay. Let's move on to, and I'm going to talk to Ann about this for a moment. And on the document you shared about the mission and the subcommittees, is it possible, at least for me, and I may be asking for too much, to change the name on that document from Permanent Supportive Housing Subcommittee to the new name Housing First?
Yeah, I actually, thank you. I did that today. We just haven't uploaded it yet.
Oh, okay.
I noticed that.
Yeah, I'd like to get a copy of that as well as the other commissioners if possible, when it's available.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Liz Wilson, Housing First Subcommittee.
We have not had a meeting in several months. And I think I mentioned at the last meeting that I attended that I suggested that we dissolve the Housing First Subcommittee for members to join the other two subcommittees if the ordinance permits.
Liz or Ann? Liz Morales or Ann? What do you think about that?
I'm going to defer to Ann first.
The next item that we're talking about is the bylaws. And so the bylaws are what will dictate what you can and can't do. In the meantime, you created the subcommittee via motion. I believe you can remove the subcommittee via a motion as well. I think it's more a question of making sure that that topic area and that goal area gets covered in the other subcommittees.
Okay, Liz Wilson, if it's okay with you, I'd like to hang on to this as is until we get through the bylaw examples, item 7 on the agenda. How do you feel about that?
I feel fine about it. It looks like Mindy has input.
Okay. Then let's go to the Affordable Housing Subcommittee, Sharia.
It looks like Mindy has input on our last topic.
Oh, pardon me. Yes, Mindy. Thanks, Liz. Mindy?
Thank you. Thanks, Liz. Trying to say this. I joined the commission primarily because of my strong belief in housing first programs and find myself disappointed that there are no other commissioners willing to join this subcommittee, of which is Liz and I, and have not been able to have meetings because one of us there could not make it. There needs to be both of us to have a quorum. We need a third person so that should the commission decide to continue having a Housing First subcommittee, I want to just elbow you guys a little bit in considering joining the Housing First subcommittee. I'm passionate about it.
I'm sorry, Mindy, did I cut you off?
No.
Okay, all right.
I would have just gone on.
It's okay. Jay.
I mean, I think that this just goes to show how limited we are by the number of voting members. So just want to bring that up again about you know, I'm chairing a subcommittee, and so as much as I'd like to be on another one, it just seems like a little much. So, you know, I don't know if that's something that we can address, and we've talked quite a bit about it, but anyway, I think that's an issue, making it difficult for subcommittees to meet.
Yeah, I was just doing a quick count myself to think this through a little bit. Anne, are we allowed, so to speak, to discuss this issue now, or do we need to move this, put it on an agenda for a meeting?
Whether, hold on, whether to keep the subcommittee or not?
No, in regards to discussion about commission members and maybe
So-
voting commission members
Yeah, let's do
mandatorily
that.
being.
Let's do that in the next item.
Okay, thank you. Then now I'll go to Shreya.
Hi, thank you, everyone. Yeah, I was just reviewing the notes real quick. We had most of our time in the Affordable Housing Subcommittee was taken by discussing the income source of income protection. I think in general, we're all supportive. I think our commission subcommittee meetings are a little bit, I personally feel like, well, Jim Topel's not here, so I don't want to say anything bad, but I do think that we have a lot of very experienced developers who are showing up, a lot of, you know, I would consider very, very extremely respectable, you know, people who've been doing this, you know, affordable housing in the professional sense for a really long time. And I think that those perspectives are really great. So there was, you know, in that sense, you know, some concerns brought up about the ordinance, you know, in terms of how it affects landlords. And, you know, I think Jim Tofel kind of is the most kind of leery and a little, you know, but, you know, I think that yeah, so we spent a lot of time talking about that. You know, but overall, I think our affordable housing subcommittee is very supportive. Also, you know, again, a lot of people there, Marianne Breeling echoed the same sentiments, you know, they understand you know, no one likes to hear, you know, Section 8 renters, you know, go through the mud and, you know, in that way. So, you know, I think the commission is supportive. You know, the affordable housing subcommittee is supportive, but we all also see that it needs more time to play out, and definitely, you know, and we're still at the very beginning stages. So we'll just be something we'll be tracking as it moves forward, and as we get more clarity on the ordinance as to the specifics, so, and the details. And then, you know, and then we talked a little bit about updates with the you know, the Mi Casita program and the partnership myself and Picklet, the Pima County Community Land Trust are working on. Our first meeting, we had over 200 people in attendance, and I think it's really interesting. I because again, when I just think about numbers, you know, light tech projects are great and they're awesome. I love them. I've worked on them. I think but we're always going to be limited in Tucson as to how many of those projects we get a year, even if we were to, you know, get our fair share of 2 a year, which Jim Tofel thinks is reasonable. You know, how many units is that? That's like, you know, maybe 300 units a year. And we know that we need to be producing way more than that to make meet our goals. So again, that's why I got excited about the potential for creating a program where we incentivize homeowners, you know, people who have space on their lots, to also be a part of the affordable housing movement. So I'm really excited to see where that program goes and how we develop it. We're at the very beginning stages of that. We had some great input from David Wall, one of the developers I've worked with before, who mentioned potential for the IDA to get involved in getting consortium of lenders, especially right now with interest rates being so low, and a lot of homeowners, you know, appraising high. The advantage of that is that a lot of homeowners have equity right now, and they have the equity to build a small little casita and be a part of the affordable rental housing market. So how do we, you know, kind of take advantage of this moment that we're in? So yeah, it was all good discussion, and then I think we ran out of time. So yeah, so that's my update.
Thank you. And the reason I'm getting up and down, everyone, is because I'm running out of battery on this headset. So I'm plugging in another headset. All right. So those are the subcommittee updates. Unless anyone has any other comments on the subcommittees, let's move to item 7, bylaw examples. Anne.
Yeah, Mike,
if you will. Yes.
if you are amenable, I have been asked by a few people, at least, I know of at least one person that had missed the call to the audience, had requested to speak during the call to the audience, but we missed it. So if you're amenable, I'm okay going back to that item just to make sure that we hear from folks who attended and wanted to say something. Uh-oh, we now lost your hearing.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, there we go.
Switch out of place. I apologize. Should we do that now or save that towards the end?
That is up to you. I just feel bad that we missed that request.
Yeah. Since we have the agenda, I'd like to keep on the agenda schedule unless any of the commissioners objects, and save this opportunity towards the end for someone from the public. Anyway.
I'd like to suggest that we allow that member of the public to speak. We missed them in the first place, and I think that it's more respectful of their time to let them speak now.
Anyone else? Vicky.
I agree with Liz, because I thought we had talked about, the way we scheduled it for taking comments from the public, that they could go first, and if they needed to leave, they could. I just feel like if we missed it on the agenda and then require them to wait to the end, it's really putting the burden on them. So I would request that we honor Liz, or, let them speak now.
Okay. I got a thumbs up there from Mindy, I believe. Anyone opposed to letting the member of the public speak at this moment? All right, let's do that. Anne?
I think anyone that's interested in speaking can speak now, but Andres Portela, I believe, is one that requested.
Okay, Andres, are you available?
I am. I'm here.
All right, sir. 3 minutes.
Groovy. Thank you so much, everyone. I wanted to drop in based on the conversation around source of income protections and why I believe in order to secure a future for Tucson, affordable, decent, safe housing has to exist with these sort of protections. 2 years ago, I was a part of a team that created the Charter for the Commission on Equitable Housing Development. I wrote a work plan all based in this conversation around source of income protections, which would mean the world to everyday Tucsonans. In the spirit of this commission and in the spirit of the one who created this space, I think these protections bring diverse voices just as much as inclusive communities. So I now enter this space as a health equity advocate, and we can't advance racial and ethnic equity without a collaborative effort in addressing income injustice. The use of a voucher would mean you could be virtually segregated from select communities. The creation of this protection for low-income community members can mean access to school just a stone's throw away from home. I mean, the ability to choose where you live, even if that is next to a grocery store. It means the difference in living in neighborhoods that will give a step forward or step back from environmental factors. It may sound sensationalized, however, I frequently hear from families as I'm engaging in the community who struggle to find housing once they receive this voucher in that 90-day timeline. So we can look at case study after case study, which indicates the need for protections in Baltimore, DC, California, Chicago, all of these different places. But I would ask that we create this an enforcement mechanism that would give express language to both city staff and to the market. All of those folks who came in and thumbs down this last time. That's why I come out of the shadows today. Years ago of working in fair housing, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of families who just wanted a shot at choosing housing outside of food deserts, on good transportation lines or near colleges or elementary schools. And the decision to advise on source of income protections would be rooted in the charter of this group, and that's in creating inclusive and equitable communities. That's all I got today. Thank you all.
Thank you much. Are there any other members of the public interested in speaking? I believe I see Joe Audino. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Mike. As long as Andres is saying it, I'd like to kind of build on that a little bit. As there was talk of formulating this commission, whether there wanted to be a task force or whether there was you're going to revive the old housing commission or what was going to happen. There were a lot of great ideas being thrown around. And speaking maybe to something you're about to talk about, I think there are a lot of great ideas in the community. And I think we really are hamstrung by the fact that we're working with 8 effective voting members right now on this committee, which is why you got 3 on 2 subcommittees and Liz and Mindy on Housing First. So I'd love to see an expansion of this committee. If you had 5 members on every subcommittee, 2 of them don't show up and you still have a quorum. And, I'm the treasurer of the Barrio Neighborhood Coalition. I'd love to see somebody from BNC on there. I'm not a member of the Tucson Tenants Union. I'd love to have a member of the Tucson Tenants Union here so that community is represented. So I think if you're about to talk about expanding the commission a little bit, I think that's a terrific idea. And filling out, still having a youth representative would be great. Filling the empty spot, terrific. And maybe a few more members so that Housing First is a really foundational and fundamental program when we're talking about really the basics of housing justice and equity. So I hope that we can continue that. I'd love to see more people. And I wanted to thank Andres for showing up here and speaking as well, because we're both passionate about source of income protection. Thank you very much. I'll shut up.
Thank you, Joe. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak while we have this opportunity? I will take that as a no. And let's move on to item 7 on the agenda, bylaw examples. And Anne.
Yeah, so this is going to be very procedural heavy. So just giving a disclaimer on that. Following up on the clerk's visit at last month's meeting, Jim had asked that we put an item on bylaws. And so I want to say a few things, that the goal here isn't to hammer out every point of the bylaw, but the outcome that I'm hoping for is a process forward. And I did take some time reviewing the other bylaws that we sent links to and feel like I can walk you through the things that I think you should be thinking about in what you might want to, where are the topics of discussion that I think we'd want all the commissioners to weigh in on. In my opinion, I think it's a matter of weighing in. We'll take that input. I can work with the chair and the vice chair and the chairs of the subcommittees to develop a draft for everybody to see. And I also want to give the disclaimer that I'm certainly not a lawyer and not perfect when it comes to these things. So I'll give you, based on my 5 other commissions I've worked on, what I think is how this works. So as you're finalizing the bylaws, the bylaws can't conflict with the ordinance. So the ordinance is the founding ordinance for mayor and council. But as you've already seen, mayor and council can amend that ordinance. So you've already seen it with the addition of a youth member. So in my opinion, I think now that you're a year in and you see what's working, and I think this discussion about how to be more action oriented, it's a good time to kind of think through how some of these procedural things can support you better, and go to mayor and council with recommendations on changes to the ordinance that align with the bylaws that you want to adopt. So that's sort of the overall framework. I am going to share my screen. This is your commission. You are absolutely welcome to take any of this draft that I put together and rip it in shreds and start over. But the clerk's office gave me the commission on disability issues, the Veterans Affairs Commission, and also the Complete Streets Coordinating Council bylaws. And I think there were 3 really good in terms of having variety of topics. And so I think that was really helpful. So based on that, I started drafting just sort of a framework and can walk through some of the questions that came up for me based on what I've been hearing you all talking about. So a lot of it's straight from the ordinance, stuff that's not, I would say you don't have to spend a lot of time on. So Article 1, name, legal requirement, declaration of policy, all of that is straight from the ordinance, and I don't think you have to worry there. Function and purpose, I think is again, I think we hammer that out in a smaller group, but the questions that I would have, the ordinance lays out a lot, and there's a lot of really good things in that ordinance. And in order to help provide action, as you all know, working with a facilitator, you narrowed down how do you move forward based on the whole array of topics the ordinance outlines. So in terms of function and purpose, for now, I just put in the mission, the revised mission that you all agreed on. That can also be the subcommittee goals, and/or you can look back at the ordinance and make sure you're covering the topics that you would want to have in the bylaws. Another kind of mantra of the bylaws is that you want this to be a document, a living document. So making sure that there's not too much specificity that you would want to change over time. So having it be flexible, you can amend your bylaws, but thinking through having it be something that can stand on its own over time. So in the bylaws, there's a section on membership, appointments, and qualifications. And I did hear last time with the clerk's office a discussion of, would you want to ask mayor and council to expand your voting members? Again, it's up to mayor and council, and the ordinance would have to be changed. But I think now is a good time to have that discussion and think through based on what is the makeup today. And so as a reminder for everyone, the commission right now, this is 10, sorry, that was the youth seat. There are 10 voting members and 9 non-voting ex officio members. And the way in which those members are appointed, 7 of them are appointed through the mayor and council, and then 3 of them are appointed through Liz Morales as the Director of Housing and Community Development. And then the ex officio members, they did actually identify 10 specific ex officio seats, some of them specific from organizations and a couple of them more kind of general topic area. And so I'm going to stop there for now. And I think that in thinking about taking this to a smaller group, I would want to hear from the larger group what everybody's thinking in terms of membership. So I'm going to stop there and turn it back over to Mike to talk about what you're thinking in terms of what you'd want to recommend.
Okay, and just so I can set the base and say I have said it out loud, there have not been any bylaws for this commission. That's correct?
That is correct. In
Okay,
the
so
ordinance, the ordinance suggests that you try to adopt bylaws, around your 1 year.
Okay, so this is our draft that we're working on. I have some other questions, but I'm going to hold them. Liz Wilson, go ahead, please.
Yeah, is there a requirement that the ratio to ex officio and voting members be set a certain way? Is there a possibility for some of those ex officio members to be converted to voting members for the same reason that we have a youth seat to represent youth? I think it would, for the sake of equity, be appropriate for the Pima Council on Aging seat to be present as a voting member. Also that disability representative to be a voting member. So that could be a potential solution to the issue that we're running into.
To answer that question, there is no requirement on a ratio of voting to non-voting. It just, as long as mayor and council accept your recommendations and your changes, that's the only thing that would have to happen.
All right, and Sharia?
Yeah, I would love to have more members, especially people who have already said that, people who have been attending regularly, like Marianne Beerling, who said they wanted to be able to vote. Yeah, I think that we just need more members. It's a wide topic area to cover, and I think it would be helpful to have more perspectives.
Do we need permission from mayor and council to expand the members, the count? Yeah, okay, just asking a question. Okay, at the moment, there are slots for 10 voting members. How many are we short?
Right now, you are missing, there is a vacant seat that needs to be filled by mayor and council. And then there is the youth seat has never quite got filled. And that's one that director of HCD fills.
Is there anyone here from the city that can speak to mayor and council's filling the empty spot? Just asking. Because I assume mayor and council are aware. I assume it is. Okay.
Yeah, and I see Liz just unmuted. I'll let her talk.
No, so we did. It was brought to the attention of mayor and council that there is a vacancy currently. They asked a few questions. I think what we need to do is help direct them back, because they carry a heavy load and sometimes can miss some of these things. So I think it's on us as city staff to provide whatever past applications, or if they want to open it up. Again, the current position is not one of the positions I can nominate or recommend. So we need to make sure that they know what's available, who's willing, able, and how to move that along. So we haven't done that, and that's something we can do.
Okay, hang on, Vicki, just a moment. About the youth position, how does that get filled?
So it is filled. The problem is she's not able to attend the meeting. So there's some rules around how long it is before they're no longer where we can take that person off that seat. So we have to follow that process before we can fill that position.
Okay. Go ahead, Vicki. I have questions, but go ahead.
I'll be quick. I might have missed it. And did you say, and there are a lot of other commissions, is 10 voting members sort of the what they recommend? So I guess my question is, in talking about expanding voting members, I'm just thinking about whether it is to get approved. So what is the precedent? Like, how many voting members do other commissions have?
I would say that also varies. Thinking off the top of my head, I know one that I worked on for many years had 23 voting members. And then I believe on the lower end was more about 14, 15 members.
Okay. And CJ?
Yeah, I just wanted to chime in and mention, since you asked if there's anyone here from the city, I work in Ward 3. I'm a council aide, and Anjanek and I just spoke earlier today, and she brought this to my attention. And I know that Kevin Dahl is new, and there are, I think, like 60 commissions or something like that And I don't know how many of them need appointments, but I know that a lot of them do. And this has been very much something that he is very recently aware of and still getting his bearings. But I have spoken to Anne, and just to say that, like, I'm happy to help facilitate that process, especially hearing the commission talk about this as something that everybody sort of agrees that we need. So I will see what I can do to help expedite that on our end. And I'll be speaking to Anne, and I'm happy to speak with anyone that to that process. My understanding is, from what Anne told me, that there are still like 50 applications from a year ago. They may not all still be folks who want to be on it, but we would like to come up with a process that just sort of speeds it along and doesn't, if put it this way, if with all the other commissions that I know that he has to appoint someone to, if he has to read 50 applications, then that's probably not going to happen really soon. And so maybe I can help narrow that, and maybe we can get help from housing to narrow that some. But just want to say I'm happy to help with that.
Anne and/or Liz Morales. So about the non-ex officio, how many are we short on the the ex officio?
We are filled of the 10 that were identified. We have 10. Betty Vegas is the one that's not official, but there is a representative from South Tucson. And so I would say you're full with the ex officio.
Okay. Any other commission members have any other questions or comments on this subject?
Are we going to put a motion on the floor for mayor and council to consider adding members? Like, do we have something solid that we want to suggest to mayor and council?
I think it's possible to do that, Liz. However, I thought I heard Liz Morales say that it's just something that her department was going to mention to mayor and council again, but if you want to, go for it. Did I misunderstand you, Liz Morales? I mean, it's something that needs to be taken up with mayor and council on their to-do list.
So I think that I'm not sure if it's the same thing. What we're talking about is the filling of the one vacancy we have. Like what Liz Wilson is asking, if we want to expand the total number of commissioner members, is what I thought I heard.
Oh. Yeah, Liz Wilson, maybe I misunderstood. Go ahead.
Nope, Liz Morales got it right, and it looks like there are some other folks who have some input also. So if they want to make a motion, I'm happy to hear it.
Jay.
You're on mute, Jay.
If we decide to ask mayor and council to expand the commission, I'm fine with that if that's what we want to do. I guess I was just concerned about how that would affect us being able to do business. I mean, if mayor and council says, okay, now the commission is going to be 15 members, let's say, and we've got to get, several more members, are we not going to be able to meet quorum? Is it going to affect our work? So I just want to think that through a little bit as well, so that, we don't hamstring ourselves, inadvertently. I might have missed some in the conversation, but I just wanted to throw that out there because I want to make sure that we can continue to do the work that we need to do and add members and kind of bring them in. So.
And Liz Morales, is that going to be an issue we need to consider if we add more members to the commission? Let's say voting members, do that.
So I don't know that I have an opinion. Anne, do you?
Sorry, I was multitasking. What can you summarize, Jay? What the question is?
Yeah, I was just wondering, if we go to mayor and council and say, hey, we want the commission to be 15 voting members or whatever, I just want to make sure that we don't inadvertently make it difficult to reach quorum, because all of a sudden now we've got a commission of 15 and all of a sudden we've got, a number of vacant seats that we need to fill. So I just want to make sure that if we expand, that we're able to continue working and people kind of come on as we expand. I guess I'm also a little bit concerned. I mean, on the one hand, I do support more people coming on the commission because I think we need more people just to do the work. But it is hard to get people on these commissions, and just because we get more people, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily easier to make quorum and stuff, and it could actually make it more difficult. So anyway, there was a question and then I just tagged on a comment there.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry that I was trying to answer other things. I think that is a concern, and I think in the request, if you do end up making the request that you expand membership, I think should also come a request of really trying to fill those seats as quickly as possible, and just sort of, and I know, and CJ said it really well, that they have a lot of commissions that they are trying to fill seats on, but I think that could be a dual request there.
Okay. Mark, W. Mark.
Well, not to be too self-interested, but I actually thought Liz's proposal was pretty good in terms of converting a couple of the more equity appearing seats of the ex officios to the voting members. But most of what I wanted to say is I'm wondering if it would make sense to actually move that forward in the context of actually moving the entire bylaws forward so that it becomes the whole package rather than sort of piecemealing it. I don't know. That's just a question I would have.
Sharia.
Yes, I think that our solution that's easiest is to basically convert our ex officio into voting members. I mean, I don't want us to get bogged down by, taking a risk on people who may or may not show up. We have ex officio members who have been here every meeting and have been so crucial to our conversations. I think we just need to maybe, again, to provide that balance between not slowing down process too much and also just working with people who we at this point know and trust. I think that's the simplest, quickest solution forward. And it might also be members of the public. I know Joe, maybe, people have been showing, I just want to work with people who we know are already committed. And I think that solves a lot of the problems.
I agree. Liz Morales and do you have any other comments on this subject?
Just, I saw a lot of thumbs raised there.
I think it's, we're happy to take, I kind of feel like I need to, I don't know enough about the other commissions as far as their size and the number of ex officios versus commissioners. I know that mayor and council did spend a considerable amount of time developing that. I almost feel I'm happy to share maybe on the one-on-ones just to kind of, because we meet with them one-on-one to get their feedback and let them know why, what are some of the challenges and some rationale for this. So I think we can take the notes from what the meeting was today and just start, and I would encourage you individually, for those of you that were put in your positions based from one of the council members or the mayor. So I would encourage that you talk to them as well, get their feedback on that. But I'm happy to, kind of take that back and kind of get a sense of that before we make a formal recommendation. That's my opinion. But I'll take the will of the commissioners, whatever your decision is on that.
Okay. In regards to the bylaws, Ann, what's the next step?
So, and I have more. I knew that would be kind of the meaty, but I can share more in terms of bylaws too. I think that Mark said it well, that it is up to you. I like Liz's suggestion to wait and get a little more information, but you can take pieces ahead before you ratify all the bylaws. And so I will share, there's still a few more topics I do want to bring up that, again, don't have to be solved today, but I think it's worth just thinking through to try to help you all be as efficient as possible. Before I jump into that though, I don't know if Mark, if you have another thing you want to bring up first, or your hand is, okay. So going through the section, so there's the section on nomination and appointment. One of the things I did think, which may change depending on where the membership makes up, but if you do end up continuing to have as a significant amount of ex officio or even key ex officio I think having a description of how important the ex officio members are to the discussion may be helpful, since I think that has been a topic of some ex officio not feeling like they can speak up, and so that's something that just to think about. The next section is qualifications. All of that straight from the ordinance. I think it's fine. Again, people can take a look at this. I'll send this out after, but and can think through other recommendations, but I think this section was quite good. Terms, office and appointment. One thing to know, we do have to make sure mayor and council extend the commission. They put a 2-year sunset date when they created it. And so that's something we'll be working on. Liz Farrell, when we go to talk to them, let's make sure they're aware that we need to get that extended. So replacement and renewal. There was language from the Complete Streets Coordinating Council, which I think is one of the most intentional creation of commissions I've ever seen, that talked about the appointing authority. So whether it's mayor or council and or Liz can talk about replacement appointments with the commission. And I would say that's vice versa. So that's something that was in that particular bylaws that I thought might be nice. Couple other topics. So officers. In the ordinance, it talks about a chairperson. The commission, understandably, and today is a great example of decided early on that really needing a vice chairperson as well. You can all be thinking about if there are additional officers you might want to see. And then also many of the bylaws, most of them outline the duties of the officers. So what is the role of the officers? And it's pretty clear, but those are things, if you feel like there needs to be more support from other officers, that's something you can build into your bylaws. Liz, did you have a question on that?
Yeah, can you give some examples of officers that exist in other commissions, please?
Yeah, so the Bicycle Advisory Committee is one where they try to operate within their own, they have a chair, a vice chair, they have a secretary that keeps the minutes themselves. They also have a parliamentarian to try to help with procedural things. So those are some I've seen. The commission on the disability issues, I believe, has a executive secretary. And then a couple that have dealt with budgets, that kind of oversee budgets, they don't have money themselves, but they help monitor, have treasurers to just help with that piece. So that's kind of building out the officers. How are they elected? How long do they serve? Last meeting, Jim was like, I think that my tenure might be up. And so it's up to you all if it's a 1-year tenure, taking from some of the others. For now, for a draft, I threw in the term will be 1 year, but that you could hold two consecutive terms, and after that it would need to be switched. Those are totally decisions that you all can make. A few other things. So sections, the structure, this is information that came straight from the ordinance. Officers, that is something you all can decide if you'd like to see changes. Duties of commissioners, this is just sort of what are if somebody is willing to join the commission, what is it that you're asking them to do? So all things that the commission can provide input on. The Complete Streets Coordinating Council had a session on participation of audience members, sort of recognizing they really wanted to see more participation from the public, and sort of outlining how they would try to encourage the public to talk. And then the development of agendas, if you'd like to see changes to that, that's something that the commission can weigh in on. And then kind of the last area that I thought might be worth thinking about again a little more is how the subcommittees operate. And so I've seen, for instance, the Bicycle Advisory Committee is interesting. It's a joint city and county, so there's a lot of weirdness to that committee, I will say. But they did flush out a whole document on what subcommittees can do and what they can't do. So a question came up, can a subcommittee speak for the whole committee? And we've been told from the clerk's office, no. But can the subcommittee like write a letter from the subcommittee? That's an example of something that you could potentially flesh out a little more. What are the goals? What does the power of the subcommittees have? And so I think that's all. The more I dug into bylaws from other commissions, the less nervous I was about it. It's fairly simple. I think there's just a few questions that need to be worked out.
Okay. How do members of our commission, are members of our commission allowed to send suggestions, comments directly to you in regards to the bylaws draft?
They can, and I would say perhaps a path forward is I can send out this draft prior to the next meeting. And perhaps at the next meeting, there can be a more detailed discussion now that once you have more of a chance to see through it. And then in the meantime, Liz Morales can get more information talking to mayor and council. And then we can talk, the chair and vice chair, Jim, Mike, and I can kind of debrief as well.
Sharia.
Yeah, I just thought about something as we we're going through this one. I think a secretary would be helpful to help get some of this administrative support, just to help, so it's not all falling on Anne. And then I think that the other thing I would suggest is that, as I was thinking about the ex officio, as I guess the motion for me would be to consider, I like the number 15. I think odd numbers for commissions make a lot of sense. And I think having potentially 5 people per subcommittee in our case makes a lot of sense. So for the mayor and council to consider increasing our number to 15, but that those people would be first selected from our ex officios, that those people would be considered first. And then secondly, that and then that we look for additional ex officio members, maybe to replace those ones. But those in that way, that those ex officios, their presence isn't required for quorum. So we could take, that could take some time, and that, finding new people, but that we wouldn't be slowed down and we could just kind of move forward the quickest way possible.
Okay. With that, let me ask you, Sharia, are you interested in making a motion?
I thought that was my motion. If everyone's agreeable.
Maybe this was cutting in. Okay. Any discussion about the motion?
I think it would be useful to specify that the ex officio members to be considered should be community members or like city partners, so that it meets. I don't know if City of Tucson representatives can be voting members, but I know that they're okay. So there we go. Cool.
Okay. Mindy?
I know that a certain, when I was just reading through, mayor and council appointed 7 of us, 7. So with this, well, I guess my first question is, are there any ex officio members interested in joining as a voting member of the commission on this commission?
Ex officio members.
See Vicky's head nodding. Mark mentioned yes. We know Marianne had mentioned yes at one point.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay, good.
Oh, I see Maggie too. Sorry.
As I think that the conversation needs to go to, through Liz and you, and about they, their appointment of the ex officio members. That, I don't know if that made sense. I just was curious about who was interested, and will there be do we need to get permission by mayor and council to move forward with those positions changing?
Liz Morales, Ann, do we?
Yes, so that will be part, and I think Liz Morales indicated let us kind of take back, touch base with mayor and council and explain what we're hearing and concerns. And as Liz said, feel free yourselves, since many of you were appointed from mayor and council, but we can report back next month what we're hearing.
Okay. Vicky?
Yes, and if you said this, I apologize, I missed it. And I also know the nonprofit world so much better. For the commissions, does it have to be a specific number, or could it be like a range that it's 10 to 15 and then a quorum equals this, or are they very specific in how that part of it is laid out for each commission? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. I can find out for sure, but I think it has to be specific. The number of voting members has to be specific because quorum is based off of the number of voting members.
So in other words, you can't write in something different. Quorum has to be a majority of the number. I just, in nonprofit bylaws, you can sort of designate, like my board is a range, and then it specifies. So it basically, the quorum might change based on how many actual members there are at a time. So if you have 13 board members, like the open positions aren't counted against you as quorum. That's what I was sort of wondering.
I can confirm, but I think based on past experience, I think it has to be a set number, but I will ask for sure.
Any other members of the commission have a comment or a question? Oh, with that, I'll ask Sharia to restate her motion and see what happens after that. Sharia?
Yeah, the motion was to ask mayor and council to approve up to 15 commission members, and that those new members be selected first from our ex officio members, especially those who are interested and have already said they wanted to do this. And then at that point, for them to consider appointing new ex officio members to make the 10 that we are required to have.
And is there a second? Mindy, is it your hand raised because you're seconding?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Are any members, voting members, opposed to the motion? I will take that as no, and so the motion passes. With that, it looks like I'm looking at the clock and I'm looking at our agenda. Looks like our time's doing well. We'll move on to item 8, HCD updates from Liz and Ann. Liz Morales and Ann. Who wants to go first?
I'll defer to Liz.
Okay. Well, so January was a very odd month. I'll just be honest with all of you. I was on the last commission meeting, but ended up with a lot of COVID sick family members. So I'm sure, I hope everyone's healthy and safe. So that really demonstrated to me how truly contagious COVID has been this season. But since coming back, we've been heavily working. We've received so much federal dollars that we've been trying to ramp up staff. We're ramping up the opening of our city properties that we purchased for the purpose of serving persons who are experiencing homelessness. We're hoping to see those ramp up and onboard people this month, maybe more towards later part of this month, but nonetheless, that's our goal. We also have a presentation on Tuesday around the issue of homeless encampments and the efforts of the city. What tools do we have available for us to be able to help better address the needs of our unsheltered? So I invite you to watch the study session on Tuesday around on that subject. It's not just HCD, it includes the city manager's office, and also you may have been tracking this. There was a development, I'm sorry, Mayor and Council established community safety and wealth and health, I'm saying it wrong, health and wellness program. And they, many of you know Sarah Lanius, who was the chief of staff for Ward 3. She is now running the community safety, health and wellness team. And then, as you know, Brandy Champion is also working on the Housing First team. So with those two teams, there's going to be a lot of collaboration, a lot of department-wide, city-wide, multi-department efforts happening and working together. So just wanted to share that news. And we are in the process of drafting annually, we're required to post the annual PHA plan on the housing side. It also includes updates to our policy documents, our capital fund improvement program. So that will be posted shortly. I think our goal is to get it posted by February 14th for public comment. We'll have a public meeting for everyone, including housing residents and housing participants we're going to be doing that March 30th. So we need to get all of those things done and go to, our hope is to go to Mayor Council April 4th to approve all those documents so that we can meet the HUD deadline of April 15th. So, and we're minus a housing administrator. Nona Eve had taken a position in Washington, D.C.'s Public Housing Authority. So we're currently recruiting for that position right now. I think Anne, I don't know if I missed anything. I know you're working on some other things.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'll just say one more thing. We are on the emergency rental assistance program. I don't know if, I'm sure Terry Galligan's on here. He's worked really hard to get more funding for that. So before I pass it off to Ann, I just wanted to say it's not official, but we're waiting for that word any day. And we're expecting to get an additional 24 million.
I would just add a couple things. Important one, Ernesto Portillo has started with us. He is here on the meeting and we're transitioning him. So he'll be the main commission liaison. There he is. In terms of communicating and sending emails and you got the calendar invite from him. And so I'll be working with him closely, but we'll let things turn over to Ernesto. He's our public information officer / community engagement person, which is a lot for one person. And Neto, anything you want to add?
Well, thanks, Ann. Some of you know that I came over from the Ward 3 office where I was a council aide, where I worked at the council aide for 2 years and learned a whole lot. I started a couple of months before COVID slammed us, and as you know, we all know, it just did not let up. But I'm really thrilled to be here. I'm making a transition. So I did work on housing issues while in Ward 3, specifically on the Thrive and the 05. And again, really happy to be here. So please reach out to me as Ann exits, not completely, but she has so much more to do. So I'll be taking up a lot of the commission duties, and really happy to be here. I feel very passionate about housing. I learned immediately how critical housing is for our community health. So good to be here. Thank you.
All right. as I remember our roll call at the top, so we're only missing Jim today. I just wanted to mention to other members of the commission, because I guess it was you, Ernesto, you sent out the invite with the meeting ID and everything, but I had in my calendar, I guess, an old conflicting one, and I kind of figured it out.
The new
So
kid on the block, yeah, new kid on the block just didn't quite get that right, but he'll have it right the next time.
It wasn't you. I think I know who to blame, and I could
No,
bring their
no.
name up in this meeting, but it wasn't you.
By
but
the way-
they owe me coffee by me not mentioning their name.
Okay, by the way, I put into the chat the agenda for Tuesday's meeting. Liz asked for it, and so please look at it for Tuesday's council meeting on homeless issues.
Okay, as the new PIO, can I press this issue? And maybe I should not, Liz Morales, but the a listing of maybe or a note of the properties, the public housing properties that the city owns, as well as the ones that you just newly purchased or plan to purchase. Are we allowed to? I'll use the word allowed to know what they are.
Yeah, I don't think it's, so I don't know that we've made it public. And it's a good question. I haven't asked around that because, you know, it is public record what the city owns and some of that. I'm happy to share that with all of you here. Again, there's no secrets. I think part of the concern, of course, is you know, just ensuring that the residents, once they are there, that they have some adequate safety issues, concerns. But I'll just share with all of you, one of the properties we purchased is Wildcat Inn. It's on Oracle. It has 49 rooms. And then, so we're working on, we are planning to fence it in and be more secure. That's taking a little bit longer than I would like. And then the other site is called, we're calling it Anklam because it's on Anklam Road and St. Mary's. It's a beautiful, what used to be, I've heard the term nunnery. I'm not sure if that's the proper word, but it was at one time the nuns that worked at St. Mary's Hospital lived on this property. And when we took it over, it was actually more like an assisted living type property, not high level of healthcare, but still some meals and medication distribution, that kind of thing. So we had really frail residents there when we took it over. So we've been working on helping them work with their case managers. Community Bridges has been assisting just to find, most of them were planning to exit anyway. So we're very close to having all the residents having moved on. So, but that has three buildings that have housing in it. They have one building that can be used, for instance, for like more supportive services. And that one has approximately 26 total rooms. And then we have a third property we've been operating since late November 2020. That one's also on Oracle and Alturas. That one is an old motor court type hotel, and we had, I believe, 11 rooms there. It's been, and we've also used it for COVID positive persons. And so those are the three sites. Between all three sites, we have approximately 155 beds is the maximum that we can have if people double up on some of the rooms and that type of thing. But that, I'm happy to, again, to share that. But we probably won't share addresses, but we will share names.
Okay. Initially, to be honest with you, I did that just because he's the new PIO. I just wanted to put him on the spot, sharing information and stuff. So thank you for helping me with that. If we're done with HCD updates, commission members, then item 9, next steps, next meeting date. I am showing March the 3rd. Subcommittees are to meet before then. Item suggestions for future meetings, do we mention them now or submit them to Ann or something? Oh, we said Ann Ernesto? Okay, we submit that, we can submit them to Ernesto. Great, okay. Taking that off of her plate, I see. Commission members, do you have any items for future meetings you want to just give the headlines on at the moment? Oh, Ann, go ahead.
Oh, I was clapping, but.
Oh, okay.
but,
I can't tell that the hand
one,
raised.
one last task.
Okay. Then with that, if it's okay with everyone, we'll go to item 10, which is the adjournment. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
Do I have a second to the motion?
I second the motion.
Is anyone opposed to adjournment? Then with that, I will say good evening to you all. Have a nice month. Thank you for your
Mike.
tolerance. Yes, yes.
Thank you. You're so efficient with 3 minutes to spare.
I try to get this done. So thank you all. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
You ran a good meeting.
Oh, by the way, members, if you have access to chat, Ernesto put his email address in there. If you want to copy it real quick, ernesto.portillo@tucsonaz.gov. Evening, everyone.
Mike.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome. I just wanted to stick around just in case there are any last minute.
Right.
It's just us three.
Just us three, huh?
The two that switched.
I was
Really
actually
good.
just typing up my notes for the meeting to share with Kevin, and was doing that while people were leaving and realized I was still on here. Ernesto, I hope to meet you in real life sometime.
Yeah, we'll do, CJ.
And
We'll do.
same Mike. Hope to see you in the real world.
We will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Don't pile any junk on my desk in the corner.
Okay. Wait, which is your desk?
Oh, it's next to Kristen. They made a mistake initially.
That's my desk.
That's the one
now.
he's on now. That's the one he's on now.
Okay, that's
I
all right.
think-
I'll take one in the back by the garbage can.
Well, no, I think I'm gonna take. I think so. Matt is only here for another week or so, and then I think the plan is to put me in his office. So I think I'm temporarily at your desk.
That's okay. What? Because they made the mistake of saying it. That's your desk, and I went, really?
Yeah.
Will do.
But yeah, it's been a fun, but also there's a lot to learn. Have some
Right.
big shoes to fill over here.
Oh. It's overwhelming at times.
Yeah.
Good
But
All
I
right,
hope-
gentlemen.
Yeah. Good to meet you all.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, CJ. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say to Ernesto, I was gonna reach out too and just say, housing is gonna be my main
Yeah.
issue. And Kevin has been really gracious in just saying, hey, that's your passion.
Yeah.
Run with it. I'm not an expert. I'm somebody who's been really focused on it just in the last 6 months more,
Mhm.
and kind of starting with my landlord raising my rent $175.
There you go. There you go.
But,
Living experience. But yeah,
but,
reach out whenever we want to talk. We'll just we'll chat. I'll go to the office and
Wonderful.
and
Sounds good.
okay.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
CJ, since housing is your passion, we should probably have coffee because I'm involved in housing in various ways. So,
Absolutely would love to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
all right, you let me know because I know you're just getting in over there, CJ. So let me know when you're free, and then we'll do it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, you
Bye,
guys.
fellas.
Bye, CJ. Mike, be well.
You too.
Thank you.